We begin today with a selection of major stories that is currently making headlines across the country. We're covering economic crimes, governance accountability, public safety concerns, and efforts towards greater inclusion. So first up, the EFCC just dragged the husband and the wife plus their two companies to court over an alleged 750 million investment scam. And over in Kaduna, traders are really upset and they took to the streets yesterday begging current Governor Uba Sani to help them as they are still suffering from what El-Rufai did to them. And speaking about El-Rufai, a well-known voice, Akin Osuntokun, is calling him out directly, and El-Rufai is currently facing the heat. Now this one is shocking and very sad. In Bauchi, police rescued a grown man who had been chained up by his own father for 17 whole years. And then in Plateau, gunmen attacked Garga community late Monday in Kano area. And in Kano, after that terrible fire gutted Singa market and ruined so many traders, Governor Yusuf is thanking President Tinubu and the APC government for putting together 8 billion naira in support. And finally, Nigerian women are not playing. A big group rallied outside the National Assembly yesterday, pushing harder for lawmakers to quickly pass the Special Reserve Seats Bill for women. And from scams and protests to rescue attacks to relief money and the fight for equity, today's broadcast is definitely very packed and informative. So stick around and let's dive into it. So we're kicking off with the first story. The EFCC has arraigned a couple, Osaboyin Alex Ologbose and his wife Hope Onome Ogelemu, along with two companies that they control, on charges with 750 million investment fraud. Now this happened just yesterday at the Federal High Court in Abuja before Justice Ekerete Akpan. They are currently facing a 7-count charge, and the charges border on obtaining money by false pretense, conversion of funds, and money laundering. The total amount in question is approximately 750 million naira, and these charges are said to be contrary to Section 18, Subsection 2 of the Money Laundering Act and punishable under Section 18, Subsection 4 of the same acts. The EFCC spokesperson Dele Oyewale confirmed this in an official statement released yesterday. Now, this is not just an allegation of fraud. It is tied to money laundering as well, and money laundering carries serious penalties in Nigeria. Now, what exactly are these allegations? From the EFCC investigation and court documents that were referenced in reports, the defendant allegedly induced members of the public to invest money with high promises of high returns. Remember the video we made last time about Dr. Okonjo-Iweala, where they used that video to say if you invest in this, you get so amounts of money in a short period of time. It's something like this. Specifically, the victims were told the funds will be used for the procurement and exportation of agricultural products like bags of bitter kola and red kola nuts to international markets in Hong Kong, in China, and in Indonesia. Then they promised the investors that they will receive return on investment, very high return on investment. Some reports mention promises of up to 30% returns within short periods like 6 weeks, although the exact figures vary slightly across sources. Now look at this. You invest and then within 6 weeks you get 30% returns. When you see things like this, you should already know that it's a scam. Some of them might not be scam, but then because of the high rate of things like this, it is very hard to differentiate between the one that is scam and the one that is real. But I'll tell you, when you see big and huge returns like this within short period of time, just know that it's a scam. Just know that it is fraud. It is not real. Now back to the case. The money was allegedly paid into accounts linked to Hope Onome Ogelemu and Onome Global Market Resource Limited. Now, instead of the legitimate businesses, the funds were reportedly converted and diverted for personal use. Now, let's break down these charges one by one. The first one, obtaining by false pretense. Under the Nigerian law, promising something you know is false to get money is very punishable. It is under the Section 419 Criminal Code or something similar to that. When you promise people they are going to get money for something you know is false and you are arrested, just know that the punishment is going to be very severe. Then the second one, conversion of funds. Any criminal breach of trust, like taking entrusted money and using it differently, is also punishable by law. And then lastly, money laundering. Hiding origin of illicit funds in Nigeria is very, very punishable. The penalties can even include long-term prison terms and asset forfeitures. Now, remember I said they are facing 7 charges. The 7 charges are all together under these 3: the money laundering, conversion of funds, and obtaining money illegally. That's obtaining money by pretense. You see, Nigeria has seen many investment scams. We're talking about MMM, CBEX, farm scams, even crypto frauds. And EFCC has recovered billions of nairas from hundreds of people that were prosecuted. Imagine losing your savings to promises of export riches. And when we look at the victims likely range from middle class to small business owners. And honestly, I blame the economy. Economy hardship has made people vulnerable. Economy hardship has made people dip hands into things that could make them lose their life savings. Although aside the fact that people are very greedy and also financially illiterate, the economy is also doing us a lot of harm. And this case highlights the need for financial literacy. People need to be smart about their finances. You need to be smart about what you invest your money in. It is very, very, very important. For now, on this case, there is no new updates. The case has been adjourned and details are still pending. So for now, we are still watching this case as it evolves. And moving on to the next story. A protest occurred on Monday, February 16, 2026 in Kaduna, involving traders primarily from Kabala Doki Market and neighboring markets also. They marched through the streets, they carried placards, they were chanting slogans and expressing deep frustrations over the loss of their livelihoods due to shop demolitions that were carried out during the administration of former Governor Nasser El-Rufai. The demolitions were part of El-Rufai's urban renewal and modernization infrastructures that were aimed at improving market infrastructure, reducing congestions, and promoting planned development in Kaduna urban areas. Now, this effort included raising structures that were deemed illegal, substandard, and obstructing roads and public spaces. The victims that were affected have claimed that the actions were sudden, there were no inadequate notice, sometimes just a few days, and it lacked sufficient compensations for relocation support, and it left hundreds of people, if not thousands of people, economically devastated. The protesters also argued that these demolitions were unjust and that many people are still struggling years later, with some families facing ongoing hardship. The demonstrators specifically appealed to the current governor, Senator Uba Sani, who took office in 2023 after El-Rufai left office, to intervene. They pleaded for his administration to address their grievances, potentially through compensation, reinstatement of trading spaces, or other relief measures. Since the current government was not responsible for the original actions, but it still owed the authority to provide redress. Let's hear from one of the protesters.
No single individual will take what belongs to the public, amass the wealth, and sit down, look at the face of Nigerian people, specifically Kaduna State, and abuse our accessibility. Never. So, this is a clarion call. All hands must be on deck. Mr. Speaker, we are here this afternoon in pains. And we are also going to ensure we watch all of these things with keen interest. No compromise. El-Rufai must face the music.
And in response to the protest, the State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Dr. Sule, addressed the protesters directly. He reassured them that Governor Uba Sani is committed to listening to the citizens' concerns and addressing legitimate grievances, even though his administration was not in power during the demolitions. When you look at this, it reflects a broader context in Kaduna, where the current government has to face calls, has to review and rectify policies from the previous era. Governor Uba Sani is not responsible for the mistake, but then he is now responsible to provide solutions for mistakes that El-Rufai made. El-Rufai's urban renewal drive modernized parts of Kaduna, including markets, but then he drew criticism for being heavy-handed, for displacing vulnerable populations, and without giving them adequate safety nets. Under Governor Uba Sani, there have been emphasis on people-centered government, there have been job creations, and they've also addressed inherited challenges, which the protesters appear to be invoking in their appeals. During During Nasser El-Rufai's time as a governor, Kaduna saw aggressive urban renewal. You see markets like those in Tudunwada, markets in Banawa, and so many other markets faced partial or full demolitions to make way for modern facilities, for better roads, and for organized trading zones. You see, his goal was to transform Kaduna into a more livable, investor-friendly city, and part of that vision included the markets, like the one in Sheikh Abubakar Gumi Central Market. But then for the traders, the reality was harsh. It's trying to do something urban, it's trying to create something urban, but then when you look at the reality of creating that, it is very, very harsh. Many people operated in informal or semi-formal setup for decades, and the sudden enforcement left goods destroyed, capital wiped out, and families without income sources. This protest did not start today. Some of these protests date back to 2017 or 2022, and it is showing that people did not just start showing discontent now. They've been showing it long before now. However, the commissioner assurance is very significant. It shows that there is openness to dialogue and that Governor Uba Sani is focusing on creating jobs and is also focused on addressing security issues and economic issues. Now, this could be an opportunity for his administration to demonstrate responsiveness. See, there has to be a way to pursue progress without leaving people behind. There has to be a way where urban renewal can bring long-term benefits, cleaner cities, and better infrastructure, but then at the same time, people do not have to suffer from it. This is a call to Uba Sani, and it is also a test of his administration promise to prioritize the people. It also ties into wider calls for probes into El-Rufai's era, including the financial and the rights issues, showing accumulated grievances. Now, when you look at the protest, it was very peaceful. They were talking about the economic hardship, but then it did not result into conflict. There have been no arrests, there have been no reports of violence that has emerged from the event, and that is how any protest should be. As the event unfolds, we'll monitor any official statement from the Kaduna state government or further actions from the traders. So for now, the plea is clear. These citizens, after years of losing their shops, are turning to their current leader for help in rebuilding what was lost. And still on the El-Rufai, Akin Osuntokun, a respected commentator and former political advisor, issued a public statement advising Nasser El-Rufai to stop engaging in what he called a kangaroo debate, and instead for him to directly address serious allegations that are tied to his time as governor of Kaduna State from 2015 to 2023. Osuntokun specifically pointed to claims of mismanagement involving 423.2 billion in loans that were obtained during El-Rufai's administration. He also urged El-Rufai to respond substantively to this accusation rather than deflecting through public spats or debates that Osuntokun described as lacking credibility or fairness, and using the term kangaroo, which implied something sham or predetermined. When you look at this, the statement did not just come out of anywhere. The El-Rufai's case has been going on for now. In fact, if you go back to our previous video, you would see that we've spoken extensively about this. But then whenever things that El-Rufai has done is brought out to the public, you see him quickly bringing out excuses that this is what happened, this is not what happened, instead of him taking responsibility, instead of him taking accountability for what he did. To understand the full picture, we need to go back to the origin of these allegations. In 2024, the Kaduna State House of Assembly set up a committee to probe the state's finances, that's Kaduna State, the loans, and the current awards under El-Rufai's 8-year tenure. The committee's report, which has surfaced publicly, accused the administration of misappropriating funds, bypassing due processes in awarding contracts, and leaving the state burdened with heavy debts. The figure often cited in connection with these probes is around 423 billion to 432 billion, although the sources are varying slightly, but then it refers to the same pool of loans and grants from the federal, the international, and other sources that were meant for infrastructure, meant for development projects, and state obligations. And like I said, if you go back to watch some of our previous videos, you will see that we've spoken extensively about this case. However, El-Rufai has consistently denied any wrongdoing. In his responses, he has described the probes as politically motivated witch hunts, possibly timed to coincide with his criticism of the current federal administration or his broader political activities. Now, he has insisted that all the loans were properly obtained, they were used for intended purposes like roads, schools, hospitals, and security, and that there are records to prove this. His supporters have argued that debt accumulation was necessary, given Kaduna's developmental needs and national economic challenges during his term, including inflation and security issues. Let's go back to Osuntokun intervention. As a former NAN boss and someone with deep ties to Nigeria public service and commentary, his voice carries a lot of weight. And his call for El-Rufai to avoid kangaroo debates seems to reference El-Rufai's recent public engagements, like the interviews, the statements, or any social activity where he has pushed back aggressively against critics, against security agencies, and even figures like the NSA. Some people see this as an attempt to rally support or to shift focus, while Osuntokun appears to view them as evasive or unproductive. Now, why does this matter? Why exactly does this El-Rufai case matter? In a country where corruption allegations against high-profile figures often polarize along ethnic, regional, or even partisan lines, this story tests the institutions. It tests the EFCC, it tests the government, it tests our democracy, it tests a lot of things. The Kaduna Assembly probe initiated post-tenure raises questions about timing and about motive. And when you look at El-Rufai's profile as a former minister, as an influential APC figure, and a vocal commentator, it makes any outcome politically charged, especially with 2027 elections looming. Accountability is key to good governance. If the allegations hold, it will present one of the largest financial misconduct cases involving a former governor. But then if this allegation proved baseless, it could highlight weaponization of anti-corruption agencies. But then either way, transparency and full disclosure of the loan utilization report, project audits, and due process is what the public deserves. Osuntokun's advice is a real one. Stop the debate and just face the substance. And in a recent development, women gathered at the National Assembly gates just yesterday in a peaceful rally demanding fast-track passage of the Reserved Seats for Women Bill. It is also called the Special Seats Bills before the 2027 election. You see this story in particular, I like it. We need to know whether Nigeria will finally address one of the world's lowest levels of women representation in politics. We have hundreds of women that were led by figures like Comrade Eni Obi, Osasu Igbinedon, and others, a lot of them, that called on lawmakers to act urgently. In Nigeria, women are nearly half the population, yet we hold a tiny fraction of legislative power. The advocates are calling this not just imbalance but exclusion. Women issues from maternal health to education to violence to economic rights often get sidelined when decisions are made mostly by men. So to understand what this campaign is all about and why it is necessary, let's watch this interview.
But then there is another conversation about reserved seats for women.
Okay.
What exactly are people asking for? Special seats or reserved seats?
Okay, we are asking for special seats.
What makes the seats special? You still contest elections.
Yes, we will still contest election, but there are additional seats. So when you say reserved seats, you are saying that the statutory seats that of 360 and 109, you are reserving some for women, which is not what we are asking for. So the framing and the name of the bill that is in National Assembly right now is Special Seats Bill for Women. It is not Reserved Seats Bill for Women. So, and we've had this conversation, over and over, trying to, clear the air so that especially the legislators, when you say reserved seats, they are apprehensive. Whose seats do you want to reserve for women? But if you say special seats, we are asking for additional seats.
So you're adding, what you're asking for,
it's
360 and 109 is what is statutory.
They are statutory.
So
then we are asking for one House of Rep member, female only, per state, and then one House of Assembly, the 3 senatorial zones in the state. That makes it 3 House of Assembly members in a state. And then, of course, the initial proposal was 1 Senate per state. But what the Senate has agreed to offer us is 1 per geopolitical zone. And it means that for North Central, where I come from, for instance, if I have to contest, for that seat, it has to be one state in the North Central. And
Okay.
but I also want to emphasize that it doesn't mean that I will run and campaign in all the states in the North Central. No, I will only campaign in my state, and I'll be voted by only the people in my state. And of course, I will be campaigning with other women until our various political parties will now give us nominations to go to the ballot and run on the special seat.
So that means,
so the other processes are going to
so
be the
if
same.
the Senate is saying they're going to give, instead of giving one per state, they're going to
Yes.
give one per geopolitical
So
zone.
entirely it
That
will be
means
6.
that geopolitical zone has to sit down and say, okay, for this.
Yes, this is the state that will produce this
So
woman.
maybe for the 11th assembly, it will be Plateau State.
Absolutely.
For the 12th assembly, it will be.
It may also be alphabetically, so it will start from Benue.
Okay, but real nice. But the question some would ask is, why do we even need the special seats?
Okay, it is because of the long exclusion of women in parliament, and the numbers now are very abysmal low. And Nigeria is not the first country that is
Are
doing
women
this.
being, you said, are they being excluded?
Yeah,
or
they're
not?
being excluded from party primaries. Do you know the issue of special seats is actually not even about capacity of women who run for elections.
Mm-hmm.
It is about women getting to the ballot. It has been an issue in Nigeria that we've been trying so much to see that we have women on the ballot. Unfortunately, the political parties lack the internal democracy to put women on the ballot.
Wow. Looking at this interview, without these seats, low representation may persist beyond 2027. And you might be wondering why we even need these special seats. To understand the importance of why we need these seats, I want you to watch this video carefully.
Why do we even need the special seats?
Okay, it is because of the long exclusion of women in parliament, and the numbers now are very abysmal low. And Nigeria is not the first country that is
Are
doing
women
this.
being, you said, are they being excluded?
Yeah,
or
they're
not?
being excluded from party primaries. Do you know the issue of special seats is actually not even about capacity of women who run for elections.
Mm-hmm.
It is about women getting to the ballot. It has been an issue in Nigeria that we've been trying so much to see that we have women on the ballot. Unfortunately, the political parties lack the internal democracy to put women on the ballot. They have put in place certain ways and hurdles to ensure that women don't get to the ballot. They range from the money they ask from women or aspirants to fund their political party, to godfatherism, to gender-based violence, a lot of that. And then sometimes for me, because I'm also a very good politician as well. So I know that from the grassroots to the state level, you only have the woman leader as among the states or among the ESCOs who have the statutory, which we call automatic votes as delegates. So those are the people who vote for who becomes the governor, who becomes the House or Rep member, who becomes the senator in their various political parties. And then if you have only women, out of 15 people, you have one woman, as those who will vote. You can imagine how many women will be in that race.
We have evidence, so there is evidence, a lot, both global evidence and local evidence, and it is very clear and compelling. You see, when women enter political leadership in meaningful numbers, government improves in measurable ways. You see, legislation becomes more responsive to citizen needs, particularly on issues like maternal and child health, education, gender-based violence, child care, and even equitable resource distribution. You see policies shifting towards greater fairness, shifting towards transparency, and long-term social investment. Priorities that benefit the entire community, not just one gender. You will see cross-party collaboration, they will increase. The economy will go stronger. And studies have shown that the higher women participate in politics and correlate with faster GDP growth, the better service delivery. You see more drinking water projects, you see women in project-led councils, you see reduced corruption risk, and then you see more sustainable development outcomes. The society becomes more stable, the societies become more inclusive. You see countries with greater gender balance in decision making, they often face lower risk in conflict. You will see stronger peace processes, and you see enhanced human rights protections. Now, the women who rallied at the National Assembly gates and the many more who support this, they're not just pushing. They're not asking for charity. They're asking for democracy promises. They're asking for true representation. They're asking for inclusive decision making. And they're asking for a governance that reflects all Nigerians, not just one gender. And if this special seats bill is passed swiftly before the 2027 election, it could make a turning point. It will not displace men or shift or shrink opportunities. Or no, it will not do that. Instead, it will expand the democratic space. It will bring fresh voices, sharper focus on neglected issues, even a stronger and more competitive Nigeria on the global stage. So the Nigerian government, we expect better. We want an all-inclusive gender government. We don't just want men only or 1,000 men and 3 women. That's not what we want. We want equality. We want women to be included in the legislature. We want women to be included in democracy. We want women to be included in decision making. And in another developing story, Kano State Governor Yusuf has publicly commended President Bola Tinubu and the All Progressive Congress APC governor for approving 8 billion in support for victims of the recent inferno at Singa Market. This package breaks down to 5 billion naira from the federal government and 3 billion naira from the Progressive Governors Forum. So first, let's talk about the fire incident. Reports indicated that the fire erupted at Singa Market, which used to be a bustling commercial hub in Kano along Ado-Bayero Road by Murtala Muhammad Way. This market is known for textiles, for electronics, and for household goods. Now, it was destroyed, and sections like Gideon Glass, it affected over 1,000 businesses, and estimate losses at over 5 billion naira in goods, in cash, and in infrastructure. There were 4 residential buildings with small businesses, and they were also razed. Tragically, 7 people remain missing, heightening the human cost. There's no confirmed case of fatality yet, but then the search continues. Now, looking at the traders, they lost entire inventories, they lost fabrics, they lost sewing machines, they lost a lot of appliances, and many of them were operating on credit. Imagine borrowing money to set up your business, and then the fire comes and then just takes everything away. Families are now facing hardship because of that. We're looking at rent here, school fees, medical bills. This is a lot. The market serves diverse communities, including small-scale entrepreneurs and informal workers, so the recovery could take months or even years without aid. If there was no help, it would have taken months and years to get back together. Local leaders and associations have called for relocations to safer sites like proposed economic zones. Governor Yusuf called it a remarkable demonstration of empathy, of national solidarity, and responsive leadership that transcends political divides. So he also highlighted Tinubu's commitment to Nigerians in distress and the APC governors' brotherly support and unity. And in Kano, there have been calls to relocate the market to planned sites with better infrastructure. Now we turn to Garga community in Plateau, where a recent attack was just launched. Initial reports indicated that 1 person was killed instantly, with others injured and cattle rustled by the assailants. Residents later confirmed that 2 more victims succumbed to their injuries, bringing the death toll to 3. Eyewitness accounts described the attackers as suspected bandits or armed gunmen who arrived on motorcycles. They opened fires on residents and they created panic in the community. However, the local vigilantes and the hunters reportedly mobilized quickly to pursue the assailants, but not before the government inflicted casualties and made off with livestock. Plateau State has experienced numerous similar attacks in recent times. There have been killings, there have been unrest, kidnappings, banditry, so many attacks in Plateau. And for context, this region has recorded cycle of violence, including larger scale incidents in the areas of Bokos, in Basa, in Riom local government area over the past years, with death toll sometimes reaching dozens in coordinated assaults. You see, Jos and Plateau, it's as if this place is the center for attack. It's like it's a center for banditry. It's like it's a center where they just go attack these people and make off with their livestock, their properties. And I mean, these events is something that the government needs to look into. You see people arriving on motorcycles, you start shooting, start abducting people and destroying properties. It is not supposed to be so. Security analysts note that inadequate response time, porous border with neighboring states, and proliferation of small arms contribute to the persistence of such attacks. Now, the authorities are yet to issue an official statement on this specific incident in Garga as of the latest update, although the police and the local government are typically involved in investigations and recovery efforts. They need to do better and they need to be fast about it, because they can't keep doing this. These are people losing lives, losing properties, losing a lot of things. So they can't be taking time in investigations like this. They need to be fast about it, identify these people, arrest them, and then give them the necessary judgments. The residents have called for enhanced security presence, better intelligence sharing, and support for victim families. Also, the families of the victims that often face these things, they need to be compensated. I'm not saying that money can buy back the lives that were lost or can bring them back, but then they need compensation, because aside the life they are losing, they are also losing properties, they are losing their inventories, they are losing a lot of things. So the government needs to compensate the victims' family, they need to compensate people that are facing these things. The human cost extends beyond the fatalities. Families are grieving, people are injured, and the injuries, they require treatment. The community is facing fear and potential displacement. When things like this begin to occur, you see that people are running away from their community, people are packing up their things, and they are leaving because of fear. If I was living in that area long ago, I would have run away. A lot, like far, I would have gone far away from that place. And because of that, it leads to displacement. You see, when these people come, a mother will start looking for a child because the child has run off to somewhere else. Husband looking for the wife, families looking for their brethren, brothers looking for sisters. This kind of attack, this kind of thing can lead to displacements. And then we have livestock rustling that deprive families of livelihoods in a setting that is agrarian. This attack shows the urgent need for sustained peace-building efforts, including dialogue between communities, improved policing, and addressing root causes. They need to address the causes of this issue. What is causing it? What is making this thing happen? They need to address them. However, we'll continue to monitor development and bring you updates as more information emerges from the Kano local government area and state authorities. And finally, for today, this one is very shocking. I've never seen anything that has shocked me this way. The Bauchi State Police arrested a man for chaining his own son, a son that he gave birth to. You chained him down for 17 whole years, almost 2 decades. Now, this incident occurred in Shadawanka village on the outskirts of Bauchi local government area in Bauchi State, Nigeria. Before we dive into this story properly, I want to let you know that the man that was chained is not mad. The man that was chained doesn't have any mental issue. He's not facing anything that makes him want to run away. I'm here to understand the reason for the chain. When I see people that are being chained, it's probably maybe because they are mad and then they want to run away or something. But this man is not mad. And you chain down your own son, not just anybody. If it was someone else, I'll say, okay, doesn't have any blood relation with the person. But this is your son. And you chain down your son for 17 years. Let's get back into the story. The rescue took place on Monday, February 16, 2026, following a tip-off from a Good Samaritan to the Bauchi State Police Command. And according to the official statement released from the Bauchi State Police, from Nafiu Abib, the victim is known as Mohammed Lawan, popularly known as... You see that popularly known as... If he is popularly known, if he is really known, then why is he still changed for 17 years? It turns out that the people of that community knows this person very well. And you watch a father chain down his own son for 17 years. Nobody tried to rescue him during the space of that 17 years. The man in question, the man that was chained, is 40 years old. And the father that changed him is 72 years old. So are you telling me that nobody can hold down that 72-year-old man and rescue the man that was chained for 17 years? What's going on? Back to the story. The police arrested this man and he was immediately taken into custody. The victim was rushed to Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University Teaching Hospital in Bauchi for urgent medical attention and rehabilitation. The action was directed by the Commissioner of Police, Sani Omolore Aliyu, emphasizing the need for proper care and recovery. According to reports, this man was chained, like his legs were chained. I want to imagine someone that was chained down for 17 years. Will that man be able to use his legs anymore? Will his legs still function? I'm still going to blame the people in that community, because you can't tell me that you sat there and you watched a father chain down his own son that is not mentally ill, chain down his own son that is not mad, that is not going through anything that requires him to be chained down. How can you confine your own biological son without adequate proper care, without watching? I don't know what to say. There is no official motive from the suspect according to investigation. There's no reason for chaining this person. There's no reason for chaining Mohammed. You just decide to chain him. And then according to investigation, they said the case has shocked the community and has raised serious questions. No, it did not shock them. I don't think this case shocked them, because if it shocked this community, you will not watch the man do this for 17 years. It did not shock them. In fact, they need to question some people in that community. Now, it has raised serious question about the family's mental health. It has raised serious question about the family's dynamics. I don't know if the mother is alive or if they have any other person in that family, or is it just the man, because there have not been official there's not been proper statements released. We don't even have, as of now, we don't have pictures of the man or the person who chained him down. But then I really want to see the picture of that man. Now, they need to check. Let's leave the person that was chained down and check the person that chained the son down. Let's check the father, because I still don't understand the reason. I still don't understand the motive behind that kind of abuse. They need to check if something is wrong with the man. They need to ask him the motive. Okay, let's not judge. Maybe there's something wrong that we don't know. Maybe the man has this kind of mental illness that comes and goes. That's why I chained him down. And I need the government, I need the police to ask this man why he would chain down a 40-year-old man. I think as at the time he was chained, he should be 23 then, because he's currently 40. I need the police to ask why he chained down this person. The Bauchi State Police Command has assured that a thorough investigation is ongoing, perfect, and that the suspect will face appropriate charges, likely including unlawful confinement, child abuse, and possibly torture or cruelty under the Nigerian law. And as more details emerge from the ongoing probe, medical assessment of the victim, and any potential family statement, we are going to be following that. We'll continue to follow the story as it develops. And there you have it. From the depths of human cruelty in Bauchi, where a man endured 17 unimaginable years in chains, to the eyes of solidarity as Nigerian women rally boldly for their rightful place in governance, we've seen the sting of betrayal in that 740 million investment scam, and the lingering pain of Kaduna traders still crying out for justice years after demolitions, and then the hit on El-Rufai amid serious financial probes. As we navigate these headlines, we need to stay vigilant, we need to support one another, and then we need to demand better from our leaders. Also, as viewers, your voice matters, so please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like this video, do not forget to subscribe, and do not forget to share also. My name is Chinyere, and this is Waywayves.